Greetings traders, this is Houston Trung from thetradingedge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook for July the 13th to the 17th, 2020. So this past week, the Qs closed near the record highs, once again showing that tech has been leading the way in terms of this rally, and it appears, and by all appearances, it seems like the rest of the indices will follow suit. So what could be in the way of all-time highs? Well, this coming week, there is some expected volatility because of the Econ Calendar and because of the earnings calendar. So on the Econ Calendar front, we got the CPI number on Tuesday, 8:30. Wednesday, we got the industrial number, industrial production number, 9:15. Not a major mover there, but good to watch. And then on Thursday, there's the ever-present jobless claims number. So the jobless claims number came in pretty good this past week, better than expected, and so that's a data point worth watching. This is the first time it came better than expected since the corona pandemic started. Now, is this just one single data point, or is this beginning to become a trend? We saw the same thing last week with the employment number looking better. It's been 2 weeks now where that number came in pretty good. And so once again, we need to see more data points here to see if it's a one-off or it's actually the beginning of the trend. Retail sales also on Thursday, 8:30. Watch for that. And then on Friday, housing starts number 8:30. Interesting one to watch there as well because home builders have been acting very strong as of late. Maybe that's a data point that confirms or negates what we're seeing with the stocks there. In terms of the earnings calendar, this is the beginning of earnings season, so this is where things kick off, and so we definitely need to be watching to see what you're trading to make sure you're not trading earnings names and carrying them without planning to carry them into the earnings. So Monday you got Pepsi reporting, that's the first one out of the gate. Then on Tuesday, that's when things really get started. Delta Airlines, and then a bunch of the financials. So the ones I'll be watching for are the usual bunch: JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Citi, all on Tuesday. That's, will be interesting to watch because the financials did bounce pretty big on this past Friday, and the question is, was this a little bit of a blip or a bump prior to earnings, or is this the beginning of something? Because the financials have not been trading well as of late. We'll show the stocks when we get into the charts. Wednesday, more financials. You got Goldman Sachs reporting, U.S. Bancorp, PNC, BK. Then you have Alcoa in terms of the industrials, always a good one to watch, and UNH. On Thursday, the big one to watch is going to be Netflix. Netflix has been on fire, got an upgrade on Friday, caused the stock to basically hit all-time highs once again, and this thing has been pushing the Qs up higher and higher and higher. Netflix and Amazon, man, both on fire. Got Bank of America, so BAC, Morgan Stanley, also reporting that day. And TSM kind of kicks off the semis, Taiwan Semiconductor. That'll be one to watch to see on the semiconductors front. Okay, so Friday a bit lighter. Check your names as always. Make sure you're not getting into stuff that's reporting without knowing so. Okay, so that's it for the earnings calendar, Econ Calendar. Let's launch into the charts now, and then we'll talk about the week that was and what to expect for the coming week. Now, as I always do, we spend a bit of time, a little more introspection on the VIX and SPY chart. We'll do a deeper dive there, and then we fast forward to the through the rest of the assets because a lot of them kind of look the same. But I like to begin at the high level first, as I always do, because when we see a good pattern on the higher time frame charts, then those target areas act as really good levels for our shorter term trades, and this gives us the ability to have higher time frame targets, but taking the execution on a lower time frame to get that decent reward to risk type of scenario. So let's start with the VIX. We'll start off the 3-month chart because this is what we've been looking for, and it didn't happen this past week, but it's getting close. And this is the same. This is the opposite on the SPY as well as on a few other indices. Let's talk about it here. So on the quarterly chart, 3-month chart, right? Here's the VIX, outside, inside, and now how does it break this inside bar? Right? Does it break to the upside and go outside, inside, up, or outside, inside, and down? The down is the one, most likely to happen, as I said in last week's video, just because that's what it's always done, right? So anytime you've seen an outside inside, you may have had a break to the upside, but ultimately it resolved to the downside again. So even if you break to the upside here, the VIX is just naturally good at melting. It's, since this is going back since 2000 and what's the date here? 2009. It's only gone down, right, over time. That's not saying you're not going to have intra-bar volatility, because this is a 3-month bar, so you can have a pretty big range. But over time, the VIX, the VXX specifically, will melt. Okay, so we know that volatility has been slowly ebbing out of the markets. The VIX, again, this is an ETN, has natural decay in it, so not a great way of visualizing it. But here now, if you're just going to put a directional bet on, ultimately you're probably going to see it resolve to the downside over time. It's never done anything but do that. So outside, inside, possibly down in the near term future. That red bar there, red line, is the low of the past quarter. So the monthly chart looks like so, right? So now we know we're going to gun for this area down here if it breaks below this red line. That red line, if it breaks below there, that will cause the outside inside down on the quarter and the outside bar down on the month. That's Momo down situation if that occurs. And then we expect it to come back to this range to take out the 2020 lows. That's what's going to be the pivot or the target for that trade if it occurs. So on the monthly chart, what's happening that we saw that there? On the weekly, here do we see here a slow melt of the VIX. Okay, so this here now, this pivot is higher than that pivot, and so now if it continues to melt and cracks that red pivot there, that will create a lower low, and that will then create another broadening formation. So we talk about broadening formations here quite often, and it will end up looking something like this. At some point it's going to come back. If it breaks down through here, it'll rip through that red line there and then continue to go to descend. It could expand, take out some unfilled gaps that are around here. You have some green lines there that are unfilled, but that's kind of what we're expecting this point here now. Okay, inside bars past week was very, very tight stuff. As I mentioned in last week's video, it's always the possibility to get tighter, especially before earnings, as people begin to jockey and position themselves ahead of earnings. They don't want to make the move before earnings. They oftentimes wait for the earnings before things kind of really kick off. All right. So here we go, VIX. This is what we're looking for on the weekly chart. This is what I want to see now. So we got our ranges here. It was an inside week, so it's pretty clear this coming week what we want to be watching for is the break of this inside bar. All right, so it's very clear. It going inside bar down, down. That's 2 weeks of down action. Inside bar this past week. If it goes inside bar up here, that's going to pop to the upside, right? And you're going to have some better time frame alignment. So this week here, you traded below the monthly and quarterly open and above the weekly open. So you kind of had a sandwich situation here. I call it, kind of no man's land, because you have time frame misalignment. Okay, so this is what happened here. I want to move this out of the way. Here, you have the blue line we saw already, and the yellow lines right there. That's the monthly, quarterly open, and we have our weekly open. Okay, so this past week, what happens? You get stuck in this little box here. So it hits that little level, could not break above it. They try, and now they failed, and they come back down again. But you still have buyers down here because the week is still green. So at this point here, it's outside bar down now, going into Monday. So that's Momo down. Watching to see how that plays out. That's that Momo down condition. Don't forget, last week, remember I said last week's video, we're likely to see a bump up in the VIX because we actually had gap reversal here on the Friday. So this gap down, it came back up and touched the that prior low there. Okay, actually it's not quite on this chart, it didn't do it, but on my other charting system it did do that. So it did create gap reversal, and so we did get a multi-day rally. 1 day up, 2 day up, 4 higher highs, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4 higher highs, and then on Friday they sold them off. So brought back into the range again. Outside bar down, that's your Momo down scenario, right? And they're basically just backfilling, because this here is just basically touching that and that. That's your 8 period, that's your 20 period, and there's your quarterly open. If you see, this is why we watch those levels so carefully, so we know just on what side of the open price is trading on, and that's what we want to be seeing. On what side is that? And right now it's mixed time frames, and so there's really no advantage on either side right now, other than the fact that these levels are pertinent and that people are watching them and they become areas of resistance. So we got the outside bar down now. How does this, how far does the Momo continue? You need to see this high get taken out for this Momo down scenario to get negated or extinguished. So on the 4-hour chart, it looks like so. Here, all the indices did the same thing on Thursday. Okay, it was very tight trading for the final on Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday kind of opened up again. But here, it went inside in the back half of Wednesday, and then Thursday had a bit of range, but then got real tight on Thursday afternoon. Inside, outside, inside. You want to see how that breaks. It started up, right, but they faded it right away, and it went inside by reversal to the downside. It took everyone out who was long, right? So anyone who's long from here, that's Wednesday. Basically, they're coming after that pivot here now. And from Wednesday, everyone who was long got stopped out on VIX. So let's do the opposite now. Let's talk about SPY. We can move a little faster. And here's our 3-month chart on SPY. There's your outside inside on SPY. Can it break above there, right? If it cracks above there, it's going after that pivot. We're going to get back to all-time highs. Something I'm watching for quite carefully now is that is some of the market internals. If you go back to last week's video, before that, I've been talking about the number of S&P 100 stocks currently trading above their 50-day moving average. Well, SPY has been, slowly ebbing its way back to those all-time highs. But guess what? The number of stocks currently above the 50-day is nowhere near it was prior to this past rally. So we haven't gotten back to the same levels yet. But if you open up that chart, you will see. I'm not going to do it today, but I just want to give you the heads up that that there is beginning to be a negative divergence now on the between price and the actual market internals. And that doesn't mean we're going to correct tomorrow or on Monday, excuse me, or even this coming week. What we need to see now is that once we get a negative divergence, you want to be paying more attention to possible reversals on higher time frames. So right now, let's talk about the monthly chart right now. Inside bar up, it's been 1-2 months of higher highs so far for the month of July. Inside bar, but it really looks like we're going after that pivot there, right? That's the pivot that'll take us back to all-time highs. And if the rally continues in terms of the quality that it's been doing now, we're probably going to end up with a negative divergence, and that will mean as we melt up into highs, that pullback, if it takes out a prior month's low, could be could be a strong pullback, could be a strong correction. So that's something to watch out for in the near future. For now, though, inside month, that's not going to turn. There's no reversal on the monthly chart until that low gets taken out. So that low here, right there, that low, June's low, you have to get down to 296.74. Okay, so you're gonna get some time to see this happen. If this thing suddenly breaks down and takes out that guy, that's when you have to watch out. Okay, that's when you want to start aiming for being a lot more bearish. So on the weekly chart, we got Momo up now. So did I say that? Yeah. So Momo up now. So here's our Momo up condition. Outside bar up, and here's the pivot that they're going after. This one right here. So I'm just gonna fix that line there now. Outside bar down. It's a very slow pattern, but the pattern's there, but it's been very slow to play out. Outside bar down, inside bar, outside bar, all right, and now up. They're going after that pivot there. Okay, so it's taking its sweet time. This week it was only up 1.72%, so it wasn't an inside bar like the VIX, but it was still a very tight week. Still positive one for the buyers, and they showed a lot of strength on Friday. And now they're going after that 323.41 pivot on the SPY. Okay, and you got a few more momentum items there. So look, it's Momo up on the weekly, right? So here, I'll just draw that in. You do not want to see, if you're a buyer or a bull of the SPY, you do not want to see this low get taken out. That'll be a Momo reversal to the downside. Okay, so that will extinguish that momentum on the upside. It'll be a Momo down reversal, or just sorry, a Momo reversal. All right, and on the daily, we got Momo up as well. So this is when you start to see a lot of momentum. The daily, Momo up. See how tight this has been? So they pulled that back, right? They pulled this one. So here on Friday, they did gap fill that did a gap reversal. On Monday, they gapped up again, surprising folks, but also came back into the range, and then it faded. Went down for 2-3 days, and it was an outside day on Thursday, and they went outside day and up on Friday, closing near the weekly highs. All right, for most of the week, you were sandwiched in between these two levels. There's your monthly quarterly open, there's your weekly open. So there's your little time for misalignment, causing this bit of chop, causing it to be a bit choppy without a lot of range expansion. At the end of the day, they're just backfilling. It touches the 8, it nearly touched the 20 there, and then it goes Momo up on the daily, and look, Momo up on the 4 hour. Right, so there's your Momo up situation now. Momo up on the 4 hour, daily, and the weekly. You know, there is a lot of strength by the buyers being exerted on these charts. Where the most obvious pivot is that pivot right there. First off, it's going to get taken out 323.41, and ultimately we know the monthly pivot now. That pivot right there. Okay, that one there is 339.08, and that'll take us back to all-time highs on the SPY. Qs. So Qs now, and as you can see, the Trading View is going to be changing their hotkeys soon. So I'm going to have to relearn some hotkeys because I'm still used to typing in the way I've been doing things. But eventually, you have to relearn some of their hotkeys. So you might see that message as I still do some of the hotkeys in some of the old ways. So on the quarterly chart on the Qs, it's Momo up, right? So the Q is just blasting right in the highs. Tech basically leading the way. So here, outside bar up on the quarterly chart, Momo up on the Qs. Monthly chart, look at that, outside bar down. 1, 2, 3, 4 months now, 4 consecutive months of higher highs, blasting into all-time highs. Okay, so that's a strength there on the Qs. The weekly chart, Momo up on the week. So started up down here, started with a gap up, it came up a bit, and then it actually kind of drifted around nowhere for a couple days. It looked like it was going to come back in again, but they held it, and at the end of the day, they closed strong on the Qs as they closed near those their highs of the day. So Momo up on the weekly chart on the Qs, because look at this on Apple, it was also inside weekend up. Apple inside weekend up, closes near the highs. I believe Netflix is the same thing, was outside bar up, so Momo up on Netflix as well. I'll show this chart again later on, but yeah, that's one of the reasons, or some of the reasons, that caused the Qs to go to those all-time highs, because some of the big stocks, some of the big dogs, FANG names, have been doing very, very, very well. So on the daily chart, what can you say about that? Pretty straightforward. You got Momo up on the weekly chart. The 4 consecutive higher highs on the month, and on the daily chart, okay, so here Monday gaps up, Tuesday a little bit tight, it's a little tight here, it's again an inside day on Wednesday, it pops up on Thursday, and Friday's continuation. All right, so inside bar up, it's continuation there. So just see how far that takes us, and it's a Momo up, right, on the weekly. So we're now at this point, we're just trailing and seeing how far does this Momo situation take us? Because when you have a Momo up situation or down situation, you're going to get run over if you try to call a top or a bottom. If you try to say, I think it's going to stop right there, or whatever your arbitrary, you draw your Fibonacci's or whatever you're trying to use, some sort of extensions to try to call the top or bottom, you're going to get run over, because the markets can be a lot more. It can go always a lot further than you can think, than you can actually rationally believe, because it boils down to human nature. Humans buy when other people are buying, and that means you can have runaway markets both to the upside and to the downside. And so trying to call a top or a bottom is a really fun activity if you like getting run over. so there's your outside bar up now on your weekly chart. And now just waiting to see which side of this range does price break out of. If it goes Momo bar up, guess what? That's the bias, man. I'm not fighting it, Like, look what happened here. So this is the prior all-time highs. Okay, so I went Momo up there. Okay, Momo up 2 weeks, Momo up, shooting star. Okay, so this here was a little bearish. Look what happens. They pull it back. And then does that mean it's the end of the trend? No, it keeps on going. All right. So, and don't forget, this is why we use the higher time frame analysis. Using just this chart, you'd think, well, this is really. Oh, I did move some things around there. This is really, really bearish, isn't it? This little shooting star at the highs. Is it really? Because look, this level here is your monthly and quarterly open. All right. So there's your monthly, quarterly open. They come back into it, and it holds. And there's a new month in February. Now, when did it break down? Here. When it gaps down and breaks through the monthly level, all right, and then breaks down and breaks through the quarterly level, and now your bias is completely to the downside. And we now know, we know what happened in March. You had several weeks of pure panic when people basically ran out of the markets. Since then, it was Momo up for multiple weeks, and that takes us to where we are now. More Momo up. Give us more Momo. Okay, on to the Dow now. Dow. Okay, so Dow, big picture, looks just like the SPY and the Russell for that matter. Outside inside. How does it break that outside inside pattern? To the upside or the downside? Monthly chart here. Going after that pivot right there right now. All-time highs. Momo down, inside bar. And now we've had 2 consecutive higher highs inside months so far to kick off July. Okay. So let's go to the weekly chart now. Weekly chart. Pretty clear pivot that they're going after. Just like the SPY. That outside bar high right there. Okay. So that outside bar high is what they're going after. Outside bar down, inside bar, inside bar. So now they're going out. They just took out this inside bar's high, and nothing happened this week. This is the as I've been saying in the past several weeks, is the market's been doing a really good job of getting people to get distracted and lose attention or lose focus. So here they broke above the high already. Assuming you don't break below this past week's low, this is the catalyst to go back to that pivot high there. So assuming it doesn't break below there, if it gets back above 262.17, that purple line, we're going to go back there. Okay, so there's your Dow. That's the pattern that's playing out right now on the weekly chart. We're looking for that pivot to get taken out. On the daily chart, what's it telling us? Tight stuff still. Tight stuff. Look, inside bar and on Friday. So the Dow not as strong as tech, not as strong as SPY, and that's mainly because some of the underlying stocks have not been performing as well. And I'll show you some of those stocks later on. We talk about some of the dogs this past week. Okay, so the SPY, the Dow, still positive week, but only up 0.93%. Okay, there's your Dow. Let's talk about the 4-hour chart right there. You can see how it's playing out. Outside, inside, pop up. So it's going slowly, but it's working. It's working way it's up. It was a good Friday for the Dow. All right. So basically, it was up, over 1% on the course of what was it here? Yeah, 1.39% over the course of the day. So that's not a bad day for the Dow. And now they try and take out that pivot right there. 261.16. The high there was 261.14. So 2 cents away from taking out that. I think at some point we take that level out. Okay. So there is your Dow. Let's go on to the Russell now. Russell, same quarterly chart. Don't need to basically go over that again. It's outside, inside, and inside. Monthly chart, 2 consecutive higher highs in a row, and inside bar analysis still hasn't broken that. And on the weekly chart, very similar pattern to the Dow, but this is what they're going after. They're going after that pivot right there, that outside bar high, outside bar down, inside bar, right? Extinguishes that momentum, and now they took it out past week. So long as this low doesn't get taken out, that's what we're aiming for, is that prior pivot high right there. Okay, Russell has been the weakest out of the bunch. So this week I think it did end up red, down basically 77 basis points. So there's your Russell, the weakest of the bunch so far, and one of the few indices that's actually trading with full time frame alignment to the downside here. The only thing saving the Russell right here is the fact that you're bouncing off this 50. People are buying this 50-day moving average. See, every time that purple line, every time they've been tapping it since June, pop, they buy it. Tap, 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 tap again, they're buying it. But you're trading below the weekly open, below the quarterly and monthly open. So, the bias is better on the downside for the Russell. But again, it's on the higher time frames, you're still trending upwards. So you still need to break a number of significant levels before it gets interesting, right? So on the monthly chart here, you need to see that low get taken out way down here. Okay, so ideally, if this week we open up down here and it pops back up, we're gonna get stuck in this tight range again. If it opens up high and then trades low, then you can expect some more selling to occur. Otherwise, you might get this situation where it gets tight again, like we saw this past week with the SPY, when you have the sort of time frame misalignment. But if you open up high, let's say it gaps up here, and all of a sudden the gap, they fade it. Now you have a high weekly open. That'll be red on the week because you faded that. It'll be red on the quarter or red on the month, and then you're gonna have bears step up on that chart. So there's your Russell. For our chart so far, you got some Momo, outside bar, inside bar, Momo up now. You take out that pivot high, like we said, if it goes up higher on Monday, maybe it gaps up, and then they fade it. If they fade it, and they can take out that low there, that's the prior weekly's low, right? and so that would cause reversal on the higher time frame, and that would be an interesting short at that point. You take out that low there, gets very interesting. Okay, so there's a Russell. TSX, how you faring? So on the Canadian side, I'm gonna try using the shortcuts, the new shortcuts here now for trading view. Very tight stuff, very tight stuff. So same pattern on TSX, outside inside bar so far. We had the same 2 consecutive higher highs followed by an inside bar on July so far. And on the weekly chart, we got that exact same thing basically as the Dow and the Russell. Outside bar down, inside bar up. They're going after that pivot high right there for the TSX. And on a 2-day chart for the TSX, we have this right here. So 2-day, we have an inside bar reversal, inside bar down, took out that pivot high, slowly going after that high there. So it's trying to make its way back up again, but very tight stuff so far. So we're basically watching the ranges. Anytime you have an inside bar, you want to see how that breaks, because that indicates the potential for range expansion. You break to the upside, you can expect that level to get taken out. If it doesn't, it comes back through again, then you have the potential for an outside bar back to the downside again, take out that low. Or you go back, you break the low and you take that out and you start coming back to this range right here. That'll be full time from alignment to the downside if that happens, because you got your quarterly, monthly level right there. So quite an important week coming up for the TSX. Be interesting to see how price breaks this. Okay, so there's your TSX chart. Let's jump now to emerging markets. Now, recall last week I talked about the emerging markets showing a lot of strength. That was one of the bullet points in the video, and sure enough, now that this past week the emerging markets were on fire. So Chinese ADR names were really melting up. Well, why did I say it last week? If you recall, this is one of the reasons was this chart right there, the same as the indices, outside, inside, and up, because it was the EM charts had already broken above that red level, so it had triggered the quarterly outside inside pattern. That's why we're watching it, because that level is getting close to triggering, and it actually was triggered, and you had the possibility of continuation. So on the monthly chart, looks like so, right? So now you have 3 consecutive higher highs, inside bar, up, going after that pivot right there. Okay, so on the weekly chart, remember, so here that red line was your quarterly inside bar. The prior week it broke above there, outside bar. That's why I said put your attention on this. It's showing a lot of strength, and this past week it melted up. So maybe it's a bit late now to chase, because it's a Momo up situation. Momo up, okay, so gaps up as well. So you might see some profit taking or some fading here, because it also hits this weekly Bollinger Band. But a buyer step up again, and they do not break below this past week's low, then that Momo up situation continues. So there's your Momo up scenario. Simply watching for that Momo condition to see how far it takes things or not. TLT bonds. How's bonds doing? The bonds are kind of flagging something, right? So the bonds have come back. So people are getting a little bit offensive here, because here the bonds have never looked weak. It took a quarter off last quarter, but it went inside bar. So just an inside bar. You have an inside bar right now as well. So we want to see, how do you break this quarterly bar? On the monthly chart, it finally did a reversal this past month. So this month it did a reversal. You had an inside bar, down, 2 consecutive lows, and then you did a higher high now. So this high took out that low. We're going after that pivot high right there. Okay, and that would cause, if you take out that high, remember that's the quarterly chart, that will trigger the inside bar up on the quarterly. So that's what you're waiting for. Nice big hammer here, right, showing that the buyer stepped up right off of that broadening formation that we've had drawn way back now, right? And now that's also the 8 period on the monthly chart. On the TLT chart on the weekly, here it is, the potential for a Momo up situation. Okay, so there's your inside outside bar situation there on TLT. Now you want to see, is it inside bar, outside bar up, and there's your Momo situation, and there's your red line right there. That's how close it is to taking out, to causing that inside bar and up situation on the quarterly chart. Okay, let's go gold now. So if people are rushing into bonds, are they also rushing into gold? Well, gold is still doing its thing. Since since I called that breakout, what's it been, 3 weeks ago now? It's going up, but it's very slow. So here, bigger time frame, trend is up, right? Can you say this trend is up? I'm gonna turn off this log scale here. It doesn't help us there. Can you see that trend is up on the quarterly? Yes. Outside bar, up. Okay, so we've had 1 inside bar, 2, so 3. It's like 3 consecutive higher highs, 4 now with the new quarter. So we're at close to all-time highs here for MGC. Prior high 1798.7, so a little below that, but we did create new higher highs on MGC. On the monthly chart, it's outside up, so it is a Momo condition on the monthly chart. So that at some point, the bias is to the upside. If it pulls back, your bias is still to the upside until that low gets taken out on the monthly chart, way far away. Okay, so we call the breakout here, right there, outside inside. It broke up, up. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4 consecutive weeks now of higher highs. All right, so there's your weekly chart. So basically in MGC, looking at this chart here, 2-day chart. It was tight stuff though this past week. Outside inside, result for the upside, but then went 2 days of inside trading action. So it's consolidating. Okay, so this is consolidation, and now you want to see how it breaks that consolidation. Okay, so I'm going to draw that level there. Does it break to the upside, or do you break it to the downside on MGC? So there it is, watching for that. Okay, so you do have that situation there on MGC. Let's see how that plays out. How about digital gold, Bitcoin, BTC, USD on Bitfinex? What I like that. And on the quarterly chart, this is looking very familiar now, right? If you've been watching these videos. Okay, outside inside, still deep inside the prior quarter's range. How do you break out of that? There's that range right there. I'm going to clone that here. And how do you break out of that one? And on the monthly chart, there you go. Tight month so far, and you're still inside of June's range. So nowhere to go yet for BTC. Kind of tight trading at this point. Really want to see it break out of that inside quarter, because it's tight stuff here, and it's choppy. It's choppy because it's overlaying. The charts are overlapping each other, right? So each bar overlaps the prior. It means we're stuck inside a range. Okay, so there's your monthly chart. So on the weekly chart, here's what I'm looking at. We did trigger the upside move here. So the bias to the upside on the weekly time frame. Outside bar, inside bar pops up. Okay, so that's a trigger. Did trigger above there. I'm actually long BTC now on the break above that high there. Currently a bit red on that position. Now, what I do not want to see, and if you're a buyer of BTC in the past week or so, you do not want to see this low get taken out. This past week's low. You still got Sunday. That's tomorrow. For this bar to close, so it could, this bar may not look like the way it does here when you see this video. But in any case, the point being, going into this coming week, you do not want to see this low get taken out on this time frame. Otherwise, you risk an inside bar reversal to the downside, and that would be with full time frame alignment, right? So you'd have red quarter, red month, and potentially red week to kick things off, and that would be a move back through here again, triggering the low of this monthly bar. Okay, so that would be a reversal also on the monthly chart, so you got to watch out for that. Here's your BTC. So let's talk about a few things worth watching this coming week, and then we'll talk about stars and dogs. So on the weekly chart, here's a few interesting names to put on your watch list. These things to watch. Here, MO, Altria. So reports on the 27th. Outside, inside. Sorry, outside, inside bar, down, inside bar. So there's your reversal right there this past week, and now it's going back to those pivot highs. Here's what's interesting about MO is the potential here to continue this inside bar reversal to the downside. So inside bar reversal that was going to the down, popped back, so it caught as a reversal, and now it's going after that pivot there and back up here again to go back after that 51.75 pivot high of the year. Okay, back to the weekly chart. Dell. When did Dell report? Because Dell looks interesting as well. Not until August. So yeah, this one's interesting because a good solid inside bar there, going into highs. And now on my other charting platform, I do see a double inside bar. So this doesn't look as good on TradingView because you're going into highs. So maybe we'll take that one off our list because that one there is not as attractive as it would appear on my other charting platform. Okay, how about Hilton Hotels HLT? Interesting. Also, the data looks a bit different here on TradingView. So I show a double inside bar here on my charting platform. We do have earnings in about 9 days, not 9 business days, but 9 days, 20th of July. Interesting to see how that one breaks, because if it does break, they're going to go after that pivot right there. Okay, so that's looking at the monthly chart. Yeah, they're going to go after that pivot there. Inside bar, up, up. So long as that low doesn't get taken out, you can expect continuation. Perhaps if really good news, the news keeps coming out, that's good. They're going back to all-time highs again because that's a Momo down scenario that got extinguished. And with enough time, they may go after that pivot high again, like we saw with the indices. back to the weekly chart. Let's go TRIP. So let's see, the TripAdvisor's double inside week. How does that resolve? Earnings again on the 27th, so double inside bar. Another double inside bar, URI, United Rentals. Actually, this is a triple inside bar. Look at that. Actually, it's even a better scenario. Outside inside bar, down. Inside bar, inside bar, inside bar. A potential inside bar reversal. You break above this high right there. Change that to purple to indicate weekly, and you have potential to go back up to this range, take out that pivot high right there. So very interesting chart there. Lots of consolidation. Earnings though on the 27th. Live Nation, tough times for Live Nation, but has been consolidating. So here we go. Momo inside now. Sorry, outside bar inside. Had been going Momo down. That got extinguished here. Consolidated this past week. How do you break there? Earnings in on the 20th. Okay, so outside inside. Interesting one to see how that resolves going into earnings. mRNA, good news this past week for mRNA on the coronavirus vaccine front. So this thing here possibly setting up to continue its outside bar down and back up scenario to take out that pivot high at the very least. mRNA. Okay, and the one final one, CGC. I'm actually long term right now on this setup here. Outside bar down with a break to the upside again. And look if that pivot to get taken out, and I'm long and looking to add on more strength this coming week. All right, so let's wrap things up now by going through some fast fire names. We'll do some stars and dogs. So every week I compile a small list based upon modified Sharpe ratio to see how smooth their trends have been, and just basically the best moving stocks based on their trend. So right now on my watch list of about 450 stocks, I got a few ones that are trending very, very well. Here, Huya, so a bunch of Chinese ADR names popped up this past week. As I mentioned already, I alluded to this last week about the possibility of Asian stock strength. There, Huya right in the highs, into recent highs anyways, not all-time highs, but recent highs. We got names like Baba also flying. They're all, flying right in the highs. Baba really, really doing well. That guy could go a lot higher. Baba. Sina, S-I-N-A, another Chinese ADR name. Don't know what the news happened there, but it was kind of leveled off here for the rest of the week. Then we had some good news out of Walmart saying they're going to compete with Amazon on the Amazon Prime front. So they're outside bar up, up, up. Momo up now on Walmart, because it had been going nowhere for a long time, right? Had been going basically down, drifting slowly. And look how that choppy that is. You have to really zoom out here to get away from that chop. But even with the weekly chart, that's still choppy. You go on the monthly chart, so to clean it up a bit. So now we see that what that was basically an inside bar and down, and now they're coming back up through the range to take out that pivot high again. You see how the different time frames can smoothen out the edges. So back to that daily chart again is your Walmart going into those prior highs at that level right there. Okay, and another one last name, of course, Netflix. Cannot forget the week without showing Netflix again. Look at the strength of Netflix on that chart. Wow, this past Friday, up 8%, right, on that upgrade. So flying. This is what you often see, right? Yes, you see the move, then finally get a blow-off day with the range expansion there. Look at the amount of volume that came in on Friday. Huge volume, huge bar, and you got earnings on the 16th. Do people? This is the question, right? You go into earnings on the 16th, which is a Thursday. Has the move already priced in the potential earnings growth in Netflix? All right, and do people simply take profits going into earnings and after earnings, or does it take a next leg up? Personally, I would not want to be buying Netflix into earnings when it looks like this, because now it's looking like there's more and more likely that that the stock is getting priced to perfection here as it goes deeper and deeper to highs. Earnings on Thursday has to be basically out of the park to continue this move upwards. Now, dogs. What have we got for dogs? Well, not all retail is doing well. Case in point, Burlington. So Burlington Coat Factories not doing so well. Multi-week move to the downside. Trend is down. Look at the weekly chart. All right, you had a reversal way back here. Inside bar down, 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 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive lower lows. 5 weeks of consecutive lower lows. Back to the daily chart. Dominion. So Berkshire Hathaway and Dominion agreed to sell off some of their assets. So had a big rough Monday start, down 11%. So that definitely changed the trend of that one. Right, it was going slowly, kind of middling around, went nowhere until Monday. Boom, heavy volume, big red bar. I alluded to the Dow earlier in some of its weak components. Well, yeah, names like Northrop, not helping matters. NOC, so there's NOC, right into lows. LMT, Lockheed Martin, not looking good at all this past week. That probably means Boeing doing the same thing. Yeah, not selling off as hard as the other guys, but definitely not a strong looking stock at this point. Probably just consolidating. If you look at the weekly chart, yeah, you can see it's just overlapping bar after overlapping bar. So that means on the monthly chart, it's tight. Yeah, right there. You're trading deep inside of the prior month's range. This is why I can't get out of this and why you're getting that chop right now, because you're deep inside the prior month's range. Okay, so there's your Boeing chart. Two more names and we'll wrap things up. OKE, man, a lot of energy companies were getting hit this past week until Friday. Friday they made a big bounce, but going into that, we had a big red day on OKE on Monday, and it really followed suit with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive lower lows this past week. On the weekly chart, we did have a reversal, right? So back here, Momo down, right? So Momo down, 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 down. Okay. And now one final sector, that couple names there, not looking so good this past week, is around healthcare. So Cigna, right? So that a rough week for Cigna, going to multi-week lows, and same thing as Humana. So Humana, looking like the same kind of chart. That means UNH probably the same thing. Yeah, so they all look the same. UNH of course has earnings this coming week. On what day was it again? The 15th. Yes, the Wednesday. Okay, so that takes us to the end of this week's video. Once again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. As always, if you like the videos, give it a big thumbs up. That helps us find more folks to add to the community. And if you want to be notified when the videos drop, click on the big subscribe button on YouTube, or head over to the tradingedge.org, which is our blog site, and you can sign up for my weekly newsletter there. Every weekend, I send out a newsletter with a link to this video, as well as some of my trading perspectives on markets and, of course, on trading. So I want to thank you once again for tuning in to this week's video. Have a great trading week. Stay safe out there, stay strong, and look forward to talking to you again next week. All the best.